Are you a commercial photographer looking to transform your business growth and get more leads? If so, join us on the show today for a LinkedIn Masterclass that will help you do just that.
Welcome to Commercial Photographer, your guide to marketing, creativity, and growth. This is a podcast that helps professional, commercial, brand, and headshot photographers navigate the competitive world of commercial photography with practical advice and actionable strategies to grow your business.
Well, hello, listeners. I hope you're all well. I certainly am. Sam, how are you?
Excellent. Yes, all a bit shaky where I am in Mozambique, but I am good, thank you. Today, we're joined by an amazing guest who's going to share our marketing masterclass on LinkedIn. Get ready to take notes, because over the next 25 minutes, you're going to learn 3 things that will transform your business. You'll discover a simple trick to boost your visibility and get your posts seen by more people. Learn why LinkedIn is the best place to find your ideal client and filter out those time wasters. And finally, we'll reveal a powerful, unexpected way that your profile can start generating new leads for you.
Very good. Well, okay, we've got a reoccurring guest this week. Somebody who's been on the show and somebody really who needs no introduction. I mean, everybody knows who this guy is, Jeff Brown. Jeff, I'm going to give you, because obviously you do a lot. You do a lot of stuff. You've got many hats. But I'm going to give you 60 seconds in true networking fashion. 60 seconds to tell me about who you are. Jeff Brown, who are you?
So I'm a photography mentor, work with photographers
5 seconds.
25 different countries around the world. I've got 4 best-selling books, but I'm probably best known for LinkedIn, for bashing on at photographers to jump on LinkedIn, because it is the best networking platform on the planet for photographers. If you want to get results and you want to get business, use LinkedIn. If you're not using LinkedIn, then by the end of this podcast, you're going to be motivated to go ahead and do it.
Oh, is that 30 seconds? Well, that is brilliant. Okay, that's excellent. And so it's obviously what we're going to be talking about today.
So yeah, LinkedIn, like Jeff says, I mean, it's a topic we're constantly talking about on the show, aren't we, Marcus? We're going LinkedIn. And Jeff, did you tell us you've got a book out, a new book out about LinkedIn too?
Yeah, so my previous book was The Photographer's Missing Link. It was the 3rd edition, so the 3rd edition of that book. And I wrote that book back in 2022, January 2022, when I had 30,000 followers. That book has pretty much doubled in size because there's so many changes and so much more information. But in 2 years, without any adverts or out doing anything, my follower count on LinkedIn has went from 30,000 to 65,000. So more than doubled without spending a penny on ads. But more importantly, about 80% of my business comes from LinkedIn for free, but a huge amount of my opportunity comes from LinkedIn. And when I say opportunity, I mean speaking events, sponsorships. I've just had 2 big speaking events secured from LinkedIn, just completely out of the blue, one in South Africa and one in Canada for next year. So it really is the platform for opportunity, and it is now just topped the 1 billion user mark.
Tell us more about that. That's the first I've heard of that. Tell me how that...
Yeah, so LinkedIn is like one of these platforms that's really actively... You don't see Facebook doing ads in other social media or ads on TV or ads on radio to push their platform, but LinkedIn does, and LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. 41% of millionaires use LinkedIn, so those are your ideal clients, aren't they? The age range, the bigger age range on LinkedIn is actually the 26 to 34 age group. So if you're a wedding photographer, portrait photographer, think of mums, babies, people getting married, people getting engaged. So it's not just business people, or it's business people who would prefer to do business with people who they know, like, and trust and build relationships with. LinkedIn is very predominant in the UK, also the US and India. Those are the 3 sort of major growth markets on LinkedIn. And the other thing is 82% of B2B buyers prefer to buy from LinkedIn first as opposed to doing a blind Google search. Because if you can get from somebody something in your network, it saves you've got more of that trust element utilizing that platform. And the final thing is the average wage earner is $87,000 a year. So we're not talking Facebook Marketplace, who can do me wedding for 200 quid. I want an entire family shoot for £99. The
Yeah.
tire kickers, the freebie hunters, the people who want out for now,
Yeah.
they aren't the type of people on LinkedIn.
Wow, so you're kind of automatically filtering out vast amounts of people who are going to waste your time, push your price down, and yeah, just automatically by just using that platform, huge amounts of filtering is done for you.
Yeah, and the type of people who are on there, people aren't going on there just to have a whinge. It's the funny thing
Yeah,
is, right? 1 billion people on LinkedIn, only between 1% and 5% of those 1 billion people create the content in the newsfeed. The reason why most people go onto LinkedIn and go, "Oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I'm terrified to post because it's a
yeah,
professional
yeah.
platform. I'll look like an idiot. I'll look stupid. I don't know what to say," so they don't say anything. So
Presumably, there's
unlike
a lot of people who as
Instagram,
well use it for just job hunting. So they're kind of, if they're employed,
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't, you want
yeah.
it, but you don't actually use it that
I'm
much
not
and don't
saying
need to, do
anything.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, unlike Instagram, where Instagram is what I call a vanity platform, I've actually stopped using
Yeah,
Instagram because, I got reactions, but I never got anything physically for the time I was putting in. With
yeah, yeah,
LinkedIn, it's different. LinkedIn is a comments-based platform that builds up relationships. The comments are the strongest part. People aren't looking for likes, they're looking for building relationships. And
yeah, yeah,
LinkedIn actually produces stuff. It physically works because people aren't just liking. It's not a weak sort of a vanity platform, and you're not struggling to be seen like you are on Instagram because the
yeah,
competition is so much small. So you can have 100 100 followers on LinkedIn and get messages come into your inbox saying, "Can you quote me for this job? How much do you
yeah,
charge?"
yeah.
It's you don't have to have huge thousands of followings to start getting the business on the platform.
There's no denying it, if you're a commercial photographer and you're not in LinkedIn, you are
Yeah,
nuts.
totally.
That's it's, in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll second this, and Sam will third this. It's the only platform worth going
Mhm.
on.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it's the other stuff that comes through as well. The opportunities like, oh, can you speak here? Would you write for this magazine? Would you be interested in teaming up? So if you're a wedding photographer, these people, there might be a guy who's CEO of a big company, he sees you coming up his news on a regular basis, but you're not trying to sell, trying to build relationships. You're posting interesting, inspiring, fun content, top tips, advice, motivational stuff. It doesn't necessarily all have to be about photography either. The idea is you don't sell, you just socially give and inspire and make people smile. He sees you coming up all the time, Marcus, and his daughter's getting married, and goes,
Yeah.
you know what? This guy was smart. I like him. He's a nice bloke. I'm going to drop him a message and see if he can do my daughter's wedding. It's about people will buy from people who they know, like, and trust. Now, if you try and sell to everybody, if every post you do on social media is, "I'm having an issue, I'm doing this, my latest style of albums are out, I'm just doing this headshot promotion,"
Yeah,
people just think, "Oh my God, this person has no personality." So I'll put stuff on, talk about,
yeah,
my latest cake session, or put pictures of me and my
yeah,
daughter out riding on a motorbike, or I even get people laughing at my obsession with post boxes, British post boxes, because I take pictures of obscure post boxes and I'll tell a story behind it. But I also give lots of top tips and advice.
You do.
And when you post a business post, you don't get as much interaction. But the next day you post a personal post and you make it funny or you make it inspirational or you tell a story, that gets a lot of engagement, gets much more engagement. So what that happens is because it gets more engagement, the algorithm thinks, "Oh, that was really good. I liked what Sam had to say today. He's funny, he was inspirational, he got people talking in the platform because it's all about comments." When you post the next day, which is a business post, you'll get more engagement. It'll put out to more people because your previous post did well. So try and
yeah.
mix it up. Don't be afraid to
Right.
post a little bit like you do on Facebook, but tell stories. It's a longer form content platform, not picture, 2 or 3 words and 20 hashtags. It's not
Yeah,
how LinkedIn works.
yeah. So something personal, but not rate my plate. This is my picture of my dinner.
Yeah,
Job done. More of
yeah,
a story, something a bit longer, a bit more interesting.
yeah. But I might put a picture of my dinner, or I might put a picture of a cheesecake, but I'll tell a story, and I might put a bit of a twist into that to even
Yes.
give that business thing. So say, like, I had a really busy week of mentoring clients, and I was speaking at this particular event, but after a really busy week, I decided to treat myself with a really nice meal out at this particular place, talk about the service, and then talk about, finished off with a cheesecake because I love Biscoff cheesecakes, and it gets, and then I'll say like, what type of cheesecake do you like? And if you finish off,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
finish off
Yeah, of
your
course.
content with a question, people are very likely to respond to that question, and because LinkedIn is comments driven, that will start kicking the algorithm in, and more people will be engaging. And think about it, if you have 500 likes on a post or 200 likes on a post, you don't know those 200 people. You haven't interacted with them, so they're just like a little
yeah, yeah.
profile picture. But if somebody's commented and you've commented back, you're already starting to build relationships. And I see people, I have friends who I've met who you're like, oh, I've been at a speaking event. They've come and go, oh, it's Jeff. How are you doing? You're like, and we've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
met in person. We've never messaged individually, but we've built relationships through the comments of supporting each other's content.
Yeah,
And I just like to say as well, Jeff, from a photographer's viewpoint, LinkedIn is the best platform for posting your images on. In that, there's no restrictions like Instagram on
Oh, yeah,
size.
totally.
They're not small. You can have see them at whatever size you want, depending on the way you display them.
Yeah.
You can put GIFs on there. You can put videos on there. So that's what I really like about LinkedIn. It's just there's no restrictions, and
Yeah.
your images look good on there. There's not too much compression.
I mean, what we want to think about is when you're doing a post, your image will create the impact and that will stop the scroll. So you've got the image and the image will go big. And also, if you do like a portrait image or a square image, that takes up more real estate in the physical newsfeed than a landscape.
Ah.
But then,
So, okay, so you're almost taking it as people are scrolling, you're more
yeah,
chance
so
of
you're more
catching their attention.
chance of standing out. But the bit above that image, right, what
Yeah.
what I call the headline, which is probably about 100 characters or something like that, is the bit that people see before they see more. And that is the really, really important bit because
Okay.
that is where you want people to go, oh, you don't want to say like, hi, I'm Jeff, blah, 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 or yesterday what you do is
Yeah, yeah.
make a headline. So you could say something like, what I sometimes call like a mystery headline. And I'll say something like, wow, I couldn't believe this was going to happen. And then tab down. It's exactly what these, you see these online newspapers, it's creating what's called clickbait to get people to
Yeah.
click in. And then you tell the story of what actually did happen, right? But you don't want a headline that's nothing to do with the story
Okay.
because that is clickbait and we'll get
Yeah,
teed
yeah,
off
yeah.
with you. So
And then in LinkedIn, do you get to choose that headline exactly? Is it more it picks the first bit? So like you say, if you do a shorter sentence and then tab down, it'll
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
pick
And then
that
you've
as
got
the
that.
headline. But if you just do like a long sentence, you'll at some stage
Yeah.
get cut off.
that's why I tend to keep it about sort of 4 or 5 words, something like that. I'll put a couple of emojis in as well. Don't be afraid to use emojis. And it also depends on who your audience is. So if you're a wedding photographer and and your ideal client type is 26 to 34-year-old women who speak using emojis, then use emojis. If you're more of a headshot photographer and you aim for more professional, then use less emojis. Your tone of voice should reflect the type of people that you're trying to, because I never change my tone of voice because I speak on LinkedIn the way I speak in my books and the way I work with people at, on my mentor. And the funny thing about LinkedIn is I've never ever been intimidated, I've never been slated, never been. But a couple of people maybe disagree, and I've just said that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own comments. You're more likely to be slagged off on Instagram and Facebook than you are on LinkedIn. That is the one that puts people off.
Yeah.
They're frightened to post for fear of.
Yeah, there's a whole thing, isn't there, about the LinkedIn police are going to get me
Yeah.
because I've made a personal post. But
Yeah.
it seems to be a thing. But where that's come from, you're right. It's a much gentler platform. I
Yeah.
think Twitter or X, is known as the worst for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is generally a much more gentle platform, and which makes it, if you're a little bit worried, it's much less scary to post on some of those platforms because the response is generally more positive.
Definitely. And now recently, 2 years ago, they started newsletters, which were on company page, but now your own personal profile can have something called a LinkedIn newsletter, and they're actively pushing newsletters to go out. So newsletters is like a blog, and people can sign up to your newsletter, and it's a great way of really positioning yourself as an authority, as an expert in your niche. First of all, hardly any photographers have newsletters. Most of the photographers I work with one-to-one, I'm pushing them to get a newsletter and utilize the newsletter as a potential passive income project for the future. But it's helping them stand out and helping them position themselves as an expert in the field. And my own personal newsletter, which I started back in April. It has nearly 16,000 subscribers, and that's
Oh wow.
and that's free. That's just purely organic. And what I'm doing is my newsletter is called The Traveling Photographer because I love to travel. I've been to nearly 60 different countries around the world. I'm just obsessed with going to different places. So I tell stories and share images from some of the more obscure and different countries that I've been to, like of North Korea and Chernobyl and stuff like that. And eventually, what I'm going to do is those newsletters will go to form a series of books. So every time I write a newsletter blog, which is about 2,500 words with probably 20 odd images in, that is the next chapter of my 2 or 3 books that I've got lined up so I'm using my newsletter to help me create content for a future project that is ultimately going to bring me money in.
Nice. So is that, have you?
That's interesting because it's.
Okay, I thought you were going to say
it's similar to people. People often as well do want to build a learning platform, don't they? Go right. I want to create a training course, and there's always that obstacle. Well, it's going to take me years to make all that content. Well, if you're doing something like that and effectively making it as you go, so at some stage you suddenly go after 6 months, you go, wow, I've got all of this that I've just organically made. Making my newsletter, and now I can use it for other purposes.
Yes, I mean, what I would say is, think about your newsletter. Your newsletter doesn't want to be, these are the jobs I've photographed this week, because that's not of interest to anybody. The only people it's interested to is you and the person who are in the jobs. But say, for instance, you're a wedding photographer, you might think, right, I'm going to write a book on how to have a successful, really happy, fun, successful country-style wedding in a particular, in the Midlands or something like that, and I'm going to showcase some of the best venues, give tips and advice. So that becomes the name of your newsletter, is how to plan the ultimate country wedding or something. And then what you do is you map out the chapters in your head. The first one is preparation. You talk about stuff, and then every time you write a newsletter, it's another chapter to your book.
God, that's
Well,
so you're theming your newsletter. You're not just making it about random stuff. You're making it purposefully themed, and you might do that over like 20 newsletters, and then you might change the theme possibly, or how would that work?
Well, you could do, or you got that first book out, and then you could write another series of books, or you could change the theme of your newsletter. But think about it like I've got a headshot photographer, Darren Owen, he's been planning out his newsletter ready for it to start going live. But what he wants to do is he's had loads of people, because he does very well with these headshots, asking about how he created his headshot business. There might be pet photographers who want to do a bit of commercial stuff. So his newsletters are ultimately going to become a book on how to create a successful headshot business and an online course as well. So that's not, his newsletter isn't directed at his customers, which are business owners. His newsletter is directed at so you're utilizing it for different things. So I've got another photographer, Emma Dunham. She has 2 different. She's a food photographer, so she tries to get in front of food establishments and restaurants and stuff. So she could create a newsletter about how to take great photographs of your food with an iPhone for restaurants and stuff, and that could build up to a book. Or she could write a book, which she has done, on how to start a successful food photography business. So think about what you could do or it could be something that you're just really passionate about, like me with my travel. So
with your travel, I love it. That's a really, really good idea.
But I think
really good idea.
Yeah, and the key is though, isn't to have that theme and stick with it, because you do see. I see it because I help a lot of people with more with email newsletters or with blogs and stuff, and you see some that are great and they've got that focus and they think about their target market, and others. I review someone's website and they've got one blog about walking the dog, and the next one's about taking a picture of at a wedding, and the next one's about them visiting the grand's house. You're like, who's going to be interested in all this random stuff that's in your head? Focus.
And the thing is as well, stuff like newsletters and blogs can be really powerful. So you could be a dog photographer in Edinburgh. So you could create a blog which is all about how to have the perfect, harmonious, loving relationship with your 4-legged friend. And your book, your newsletter, starts talking about dog training tips, the best dog diet to keep his coat slick and glossy, and the best dog walks to do in an hour, and your lunch break in Edinburgh. then you can start tagging in businesses. The best place to go for a pint with your four-legged friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so dog-friendly
Love
hotels,
it. Love
dog-friendly
it.
pubs. Then start tagging in dog trainers and get them to come in and give you some contributions to your newsletter. So it becomes a real place where anybody who's got a dog and finds it enjoyable. It's that's what, the inspirational, enjoyable content.
Jeff, you sold that
Amazing.
so well. I can't wait to dig into this feature. But just maybe as
it sounds good. Can I have two quick technical questions in this
go
market?
for it.
I'm going to hand over to you. Just
for
really quick, just quite short ones. How often do you recommend doing the newsletter?
You can do it.
And
I would
then
say
how do you get people on it? Are you talking about just doing invites?
I would say weekly is a little bit too frequent. I'd say fortnightly. I do mine monthly.
Okay.
Once you've created it, LinkedIn will start putting it out to your network. And then when automatically, yeah, and then it will be a notification, and then people can subscribe so that when you create your next newsletter, you get a notification. My newsletter is
So I get, because I've got those notifications, and I presumed that people were busy inviting, going through all the contacts and
will
inviting
automatically
them to
recommend
it.
it.
LinkedIn does that for
and
you.
at the moment, it's the best time to do it because there's not many people doing it. The competition is low. I get a stat, and I just got mine yesterday. My stats roughly are about 150 to 200 new subscribers each week organically. And I haven't written an issue of my newsletter for 3 weeks, but last week I got 204 new subscribers, because the platform is putting it out. And on the second newsletter I wrote about travel, I got contacted by a travel magazine saying, Jeff, we really loved your content. Would you be interested in doing a guest post for us in our magazine? Because one of the things I am doing, I'm currently working on a project doing a book about the Northumberland 250, which is it's a road trip route around Northumberland, which is my hometown. I'm currently writing a book on that. So I also want to get in with travel companies and tourism companies to start pushing travel books as well. I write business books for photographers, but I also want to do something based around my passion of travel as well. And also the travel gets the photography in, so that's great.
It's always been a big passion of yours, Jeff. I know the travel photographer. I've been been reading your reviews, and you've been all over the world. Look, we all know LinkedIn is a fantastic platform, and we've been eulogising about it here on the show. But there's a couple of things on LinkedIn, recent things that are really annoying me, Jeff. I really like to get your opinion on them, if you don't mind. The first one is they're pushing of using AI to make posts. What are your thoughts on that?
Without swearing, I think it's terrible. I actually I created a post the other week, and I was sitting there and I was looking at this thing, and it pops up. It was saying rewrite your post with AI or improve your post with AI. Right? I'm dyslexic, and so I thought, right, go on and see what AI can do. Oh my god, it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
Really?
Yeah, and it takes off that personal edge, and I'm sort of. I will, I have a sort of set of values, the way I want to be seen and perceived by people as part of my brand, and I have a tone of voice, and I stick to that tone of voice. So I would never use words that I wouldn't use myself in conversation. I don't want to make myself sound any different, or and that's what people have said about my books. Jeff, when I read one of your books, I feel like I'm sitting in the pub having a chat with you. So I always and I target my content for my audience, and you see loads of people commenting on a post on LinkedIn, especially people like these editing companies from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and they've used AI to create this comment, and sometimes the comment has got nothing to do with what the post is about. It ruins it for me.
It does. It seems a very short-term view by LinkedIn, and it goes against this whole idea of authenticity, which is the buzzword of the age, isn't it? Really. So it seems. The second thing that annoys me is that I keep getting, and I'm sure other people get them. A client, somebody's looking for like headshots or commercial branding shoot, so you've got to join LinkedIn Premium to find out what it is. I just think that's just like hard selling at its worst, really.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, and I've seen a lot of photographers do this really, really well, is imagine where you are now with your business, and you have an ideal client or an ideal client type. what you want to do is you want to try and get yourself into that network, and you want to really focus on getting with those people. Those people will recommend you to friends and work colleagues. So you become very selective, over deliver too. You know, a lot of people, they'll go and they'll start off a head shop business, or they'll start off a portrait business, and they'll go and do loads and loads of portfolio work for people who don't have huge followings, and people who aren't respected in the local area, and people who want anything for nothing. But what you want to do, if you're going to do something for free, which I think it can be very valuable for your business, do something for free for people who have a huge following, are very well respected, and will ultimately recommend you to their friends and family, or their clients. So I have a photographer who's a newborn photographer, and he wanted to get more into the headshot side and utilize LinkedIn. So I said, instead of getting friends to come and get headshots, go to the business community, look at some of the high-end business community and say, right, I want to do some complimentary headshots. It would normally be X amount of pounds for your staff. We'll do you and your 10 employees. It would normally be 1,500 quid. I'll waiver the cost in exchange for a 5-star review, and you tagging me in on LinkedIn and talking about it. So he did a couple of those. He is now absolutely flying along, because they're totally impressed with the service. When they've posted that they have big networks, their networks are seeing it, and ultimately he's now moved himself into their network, right? So he's not moved into a network of freebie hunters and tire kickers, which is what happens if you start doing stuff for free for people who don't value what you do. That is the key thing. You can transform your business in a very short space of time if you put yourself into the right place, in the right position with those ideal clients, because not everybody buys on price. Only a small select people buy on price. Most people buy on perceived value. That is a big difference.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Because we've talked a lot about that in the show, haven't we, Marcus? About when to work for free and when not. And we've talked about that portfolio building. But in some ways, that's probably not something we've talked about. And so you effectively were saying, when you do the work for free, you don't do it for the people who want the work for free. You do it for the people who could afford to pay you and probably pay you quadruple what you'd ask anyway. And they're the people to go for with the following and with the and then you want to utilize that. Not that, you're starting up, I'm starting up, let's work together.
And they also need to know how much your free work is. So you would never say, I'll come and do it for free. I'll say, I'll do this shoot, it's worth £2,000. But in this occasion, I'm going to waiver the cost in exchange for, and make them work for that free stuff. They've got to leave you a 5-star review on Google, then copy and paste that onto LinkedIn. Then they've got to do a post on LinkedIn sharing the images that you've done, talking about your business and tagging you and your business in. So it goes out to them. So 3 simple things they've got to do in exchange for a shoot of them and their team.
That's amazing. Now, to be honest, I'm sitting here looking at the time thinking, we could probably squeeze in another hour here with Jeff, and we would happily sit here. But the show does have an end at some stage, and we're already past when it would normally end. So, there's so much to take away there, Jeff. So many different things. Any kind of parting words, quick wins that people could kind of go away, hop on LinkedIn and do something quick and easy now, do you think?
Get onto LinkedIn, niche down your profile, think about who your ideal client is, start connecting with those people. Connect with me, because if you've got any questions, just drop me a message. I'm always happy to help. And if you really want to improve it, check out the Photographer's Missing link, 4th edition on Amazon. I think it's like 17 quid, but it will take you everything from starting your profile to connecting to creating newsletters. It's absolutely jam-packed with loads of content.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Fantastic. Cool. There will be links to that in the show notes. There'll be a link to Jeff's LinkedIn profile in the show notes and everything, so you'll be able to get hold of Jeff and see all of that stuff. And if nothing else, just go and look at Jeff's posts and see what he's doing. You will learn a vast amount just simply from that. It has been amazing having you on the show, as always, Jeff. Fantastic. We always learn so much. It's been so valuable for our listeners. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Listeners, what we would really like is some 5-star reviews. So what really helps the show get found by other photographers, and so we can help more photographers, is 5-star reviews. If we get 5-star reviews, more photographers see the show, more photographers get to enjoy and benefit from it, from all the amazing things Jeff and other guests have to say. So a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening on would be most appreciated. And Marcus, I will see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks again, Jeff.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, everybody.
To quickly recap, we've learned a simple trick to boost our visibility on the platform without spending any money on marketing. We've also discovered why LinkedIn is the perfect place to find your dream client and how to attract them. And finally, we've covered the unexpected way your profile can bring in new leads for your photography business growth.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to make sure you never miss a show, head to our website and sign up for the newsletter. We'll be back next week with more practical advice to help you grow your business. See you next time.